Hello, everybody, and welcome to the episode 0, is that what we're calling this? Of NeuroSpice&Dice. We are a new group of actual play people that don't use their faces. Um, my name is, well, I'm called Rue, or God, apparently. I am the dungeon master
Uh-huh.
of this group. I am a very new dungeon master that made the mistake of homebrewing his own world instead of running stuff first, so we'll see how that goes. First in our lineup of players is Cams. If you could just say,
Hi.
introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your character.
Hi, I'm Cams. I play Azealia. Well, Azzy. She's a fiendish orc. Weird stuff that was also homebrewed. Um, Druid, cleric, multi-class. She's nice, the nicest of the whole group. The only one who has an understanding of money somehow. And just here for a really good time. Just here to see everything that she can see and collect as many pets as possible.
All right. So up next we have Corgi, or Kadir, as we call him.
Hello.
Just tell us a little bit about your character.
I'm playing as Belgium Ironhand. I show up at episode 10, I think.
Yes.
He's a Hill Dwarf Battle Master fighter. He was, um, I would say he's an undiagnosed claustrophobic. That's why he's no longer in the mines. And he loves nature. He loves being outside. He likes being the beefy shield to his friends and throwing nets at people. And he has a rock that he talks to called Kevin.
All right. Amazing. So third person, we have Sheebs. If you would like to
Hi,
introduce
hi.
yourself and tell us a little bit about your character.
Hi, my name is Sheebs, and I play Ruin Lawbard, a half-elf bard sorcerer from Kiskasai. Um, she left home a few years ago because she did not want that small town life. She takes nothing seriously, um, and apparently she's a whore in theory.
God, I love
In
that.
theory,
That's
she
amazing.
says.
Finally,
Like,
closing out our lineup, we have Farah. If you would like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your character.
Hi, I'm Farah. I play Volante Amakir. She is a Wood Elf Ranger rogue, and she is a military woman. Um, heavy hitter, has heavy problems with authority, but really, really likes dark-haired men for some reason. And that's about it.
Okay, amazing. So that's that's everybody in the group. Bear in mind, a lot of this is foreshadowing for a number of different things, so you guys will understand as we go along. Several disclaimers since we are basically a new podcast and y'all probably don't know who we are. Um, there's a reason why Bargrim came out in episode 10. We did start off with a group of players before Kadir joined us, but unfortunately, you guys will hear about them, and I'll explain that in a bit. Unfortunately, life happens, and things don't always allow you to have time for D&D. Um, we love them, we miss them. We hope they can come back. But we
See you again.
no,
Stop it.
please. Copyright. Anyway,
oh
we we
Sorry.
it's okay. We hope that they join us again eventually. But if that doesn't happen, well, I hope they know that we miss them, and we hope that everything works out for them in the best way possible. So that's disclaimer number 1. That is why we have some missing players. Some people would have joined us and left. Disclaimer number 2, audio. You guys are going to notice as you are listening that there are some issues with audio. You might hear some background noise, some people talking in the background. That's because we do not have professional quality microphones, and that is because we uh, are poor as fuck. So we can't buy professional quality microphones. We're trying to work on it with time, but you just gotta bear with us for now, and you'll be on that audio quality journey with us. We are also posting to YouTube, as you know, people who like to see video. We are not showing our faces for several reasons, but yeah, the major thing is audio, and that will eventually sort itself out. Just for right now, bear with us. Right. Disclaimer number 3: we look, or well, our background looks like this right now. For the people that are watching and listening on YouTube, this is what our setup is currently. But before, we were recording directly from the Discord screen, and that was because mostly we weren't at the time interested in starting a podcast. We played around with the idea of it, but it wasn't a definite thing until recent. So yeah, you're gonna see us looking a little different for the first set of episodes before we finally have this change that you'll see. You will also notice that everybody's tags here says level 7. We did start at level 1, but the reason, like I said before, we only decided to be a podcast up until recently. So you guys will be going from the beginning, um, hearing the party go from level 1 and hearing their journey go through up until level 7. And hopefully you guys will be there for the rest of this campaign. And another slight thing in this disclaimer: episodes 1 to 9 is where we didn't do a lot of recording. So those episodes, yeah, we didn't do recording. Those episodes don't exist. So what you will have, so people aren't lost, is a brief synopsis of, all right, this is what happened during episodes 1 to 9, and then you'll be thrown into the action at episode 10. I'm nervous about that because I was still very new as a dungeon master, but I'm learning things as I go. Right, disclaimer number 4. The pictures that you guys see of our characters are obviously not ours. We do not own them. These are just placeholders until we find, or until we commission somebody to make our actual, or the character's actual art. So, oh, and another major one: the music that is played during the episodes do not belong to us. We do not have ownership over it, nor do we claim to have ownership over it. If anything, I will post the playlists that I use in the YouTube description, so you guys can check out the right artists and the correct artists. I believe that's it. Is there anything anyone else would like to add?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, in regards to that, thank you guys so much for joining us on this journey, and whatever support you provide, we are eternally grateful. So let's get into the rest of episode 0. Thank you very much again, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Picking up where we left off, our band of unlikely friends approached the gates of Tal'Vare, the capital city of Bartal. Even before reaching the threshold, they noticed the long lines of people attempting to enter the grand city through the heavily guarded gate.
These walls are friggin' huge.
Ruin said in awe. In this area known as the Western Through Gates, the cart driver let the party off and the guards asked them about their purpose for being here.
We're here to deliver a letter to the captain of the Golden Legion.
Azzy said. All right, give me the letter, the guard replied.
No,
Why not? The guard continued, his irritation growing.
Because it's not for you?
Ruin rebutted. Begrudgingly, the soldier informed the party that they will be escorted directly to the western garrison under heavy guard, a favorable outcome. Entering the inner walls, the party was stunned by how busy the city was. People could be seen in every inch of the cobblestone streets, running about to purchase or sell wares, or simply heading to work. Traveling for half a mile within this area of the city known as the Western Quadrant's Lower District, the party arrived at the garrison. They were escorted up the stairs of a 2-story stone structure to an office and were greeted by a decorated Golden Legion soldier, a human, introducing himself as Captain Nemen Trask. "So, what exactly brings you all to my office, demanding to see me during the middle of my busy day?" The party reported on Huntsmark's plight, but it would fall on deaf ears as Trask said he had no time to deal with the affairs of a small village in Tal'Grassi, and the Golden Legion soldiers there would take care of it. His focus is Tal'Vare.
Well, clearly the standards for the Golden Legion are in fucking hell, because you're so damn lazy. How'd you even get this position?
Volantes asked. Before he could reply, a Golden Legion soldier entered the office and whispered something into Trask's ear, which garnered a negative reaction. Once the soldier left, Trask, who was looking beyond stressed at this point, informed the party that he had an issue, and if they helped him, he would pay them. This issue had been plaguing Tal'Vare for quite some time, specifically the Western Quadrant, and the Overseer of Bartal was breathing down his neck to solve it.
Okay, what is it that's so hard for the oh-so-busy captain to solve?
He informed them that there were 5 nobles reported as missing, and more recently, a robbery that led to another noble going missing. The party asked if he had names, and the 5 names were provided. Arison Tybris from the country of Maricopa, Callus Medmorn from the country of Kiskasai, Baroness Marjorie Understone from the country of Ashalil, Vanjadana from the country of Bartal, and Melista Ferros from the country of Coldfall. Each name also had a last known location included. Volante recognized Arison's name as the voice or right hand of the Overseer of Maricopa, and the party was informed that Vanjid was the voice of the Overseer of Bartal. Trask pointed out the most recent abductee was Victor Tempest, a baron from the Southern Quadrant, who was last sighted in the Western Quadrant's lower district near a shop called Wanderlust's Wondrous Wares. Volante noticed Rimaru shift uncomfortably at the mention of the baron's name. Trask pleaded with the party to keep their agreement secret. He did not want the Overseer or anyone else finding out that he had hired outside help to do a job assigned to him.
So what you're saying is, your position lies in our hands?
Volante asked, a wry smile crossing her face. Just make sure that you get it done quickly. Leaving to follow their only lead, the party walked the busy streets once more towards Wanderlust's Wondrous Wares, and entered a quaint but beautifully crafted front door. The interior, filled with many decorations and magical items, was nothing compared to the very tall and exquisitely dressed half-orc, who introduced himself as Azacord Wanderlust, the owner of the store they stood in. The party wasted no time interrogating him on what he saw when the robbery occurred. Expressing guilt at seeing Tempest get robbed and doing nothing about it, he gave the party details on the assailants. They were clad in dark red clothing with black face masks. And there were 2 of them. Azacord informed the party that the Baron is a resident of the Southern Quadrant's upper district, and he was robbed of a ring that he procured from the shop. Following this new lead, the party decided to visit the Baron's house. Once there, they were met by his housekeeper, an elderly human woman who stated the Baron had been gone for most of the day and did not say where he was going, but she overheard him mentioning the sewers. The housekeeper offered the party some cookies while they asked for whatever information she could provide on Baron Tempest. She also told them that the Baron was at home in the morning, but then he left again in a hurry, accompanied by 2 armed men. While the housekeeper was distracted with entertaining uninvited guests, Volante snuck into Tempest's office to see if there was anything she could garner. Inside, she did not find much in the way of information except for an unsent letter addressed to Captain Trask, stating that he will take it upon himself to find those responsible for the robbery, with or without the Golden Legion's help. As Volante left the office, she noticed a family portrait of the Baron, his wife Maria, and their daughter Yuki. Yuki's face seemed to be missing from the portrait, as if it was damaged somehow. Thinking nothing of it, Volante returned to the others, noting that Rimaru now looked extremely uncomfortable, but chose not to confront him. With this new information in hand, the party thanked the housekeeper, pocketed some cookies, and left the house, deducing the sewers were the likely destination of the Baron. Azalea, using her wolf Ryu, found the sewer entrance located in the western quadrant close to Wanderlust's shop. Deciding to explore the sewers closer to the middle of the night, the party headed to the nearest tavern to rest and have some food and drink before setting out towards their goal, leaving Rimaru and Zion behind per their request. Stealthily making their way towards the sewer entrance, the party descended a ladder into the dark, damp, and horrid-smelling area. Walking quite a ways, they came across a large lump of some type of matter laying on the sewer floor. Investigating showed them that this matter was a skeleton covered in some sort of excrement.
Ew. Gross.
Azalea and Ruin exclaimed, before they investigated the skeleton to deduce exactly how it may have died and its species. Volante, however, sensed something was not quite right. Walking a few feet away from her allies towards a junction, here she noticed the natural flow of the sewer water was being interrupted, but turning around to tell the others, she saw a large serpentine creature leaning over Azalea and Ruin, hissing at them as it poised itself to strike. Springing into action, Volante drew her bow and let loose an arrow, hitting the massive serpent to distract it from her companions. Now seeing that they were being attacked, Azalea casted a spell that surrounded the serpent in an aura of blue and green, distracting it and allowing Ruin to strike at it with her sword. The serpent reared back to strike at Volante, but with her elven reflexes she dodged the attack with ease. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a spear flew through the air and struck the massive serpent, causing it to writhe in pain. Looking around, the party discovered this distraction was caused by an unseen tiefling, who followed the party after noticing them entering the sewers. Meanwhile, Zion and Rimaru started getting anxious after noticing the others hadn't yet returned to the tavern. Taking a chance, Zion used his wolf Anbu to guide both him and Rimaru to the trail their companions took into the sewer, happening upon the same scene of a large serpentine creature attacking the remainder of the party, plus a new face. With the assistance of the kind tiefling and the arrival of their other two party members, the serpent was quickly defeated. The tiefling introduced themselves as Cyrus, a cleric of the Mother, who asked the party of their reason for being in the sewers. In response, the party told them of their mission to locate Baron Tempest and other nobles that went missing. Cyrus asked if they could tag along, and the party, realizing that they could use the extra help, agreed, and everyone continued deeper into the sewers. Happening upon a flight of stairs, they cautiously approached and found it led to a locked gate. This was a simple task for Rimaru, who deftly picked the lock with no issues, displaying his craftiness. Before moving forward, however, he noticed there was a pressure plate in the floor that seemed to be connected to some sort of dart trap. Assuming the trap could be poisonous, he told the group, but unfortunately, none of them could see a way to disable it. Instead, they decided to activate it with the weight from some random items they found. This, however, led to Azalea being hit with one of the darts.
Ouch.
But luckily, she managed to shrug off whatever poison it was trying to administer by using an antitoxin she crafted. Successfully passing the traps, they continued deeper into the sewers until they met a split path, one leading to the left and the other to the right. Volante could hear voices coming from the right discussing the now dead serpent. The voices also threatened someone that he, quote-unquote, will be the next missing noble. Waiting for a moment, the party heard footsteps coming towards them. They quickly came up with a plan to knock out the individual, and as the footsteps got closer, Rimaru stealthily subdued the stranger, who was revealed to be a dwarf carrying a sack. Upon inspecting the sack, the party found a dead body inside, but it was not the Baron's or of noble appearance. It was in fact the body of a mercenary. Waking the dwarf, the party attempted to interrogate him without alerting his comrades. Hoping to find out as much information as possible, they tried everything. However, he refused to cooperate, a wry smile on his face.
Tell me what you know.
Ruin demanded. But with each question asked and demand made, his smile only grew wider until Ruin signaled Zion to use deadly force. Unsheathing his sword, Zion swung and swiftly cut off one of the dwarf's legs, causing him to scream in pain, that wry smile faltering. They attempted to silence him before he could scream, but it was too late. Footsteps and voices could be heard rapidly approaching the party's location. They began to turn and run as the dwarf laughed maniacally, progressively getting louder with each passing second. This did not sit well with Ruin, and she turned to strike him across the face with her bare fist.
Shut up!
He became silent for a moment, but she then felt something grasp her mind, only to realize how hilarious this situation was, and so she laughed and laughed, joining along the dwarf's laughter until she crumpled to the ground, her raucous laughter echoing through the sewers that her companions were attempting to escape from. Taking his sword, Zion slashed at the dwarf's throat, silencing his laughter. As he did, he noticed a halfling round the corner, his hand extended, no doubt the culprit of the spell Ruin was under. Wasting no time, Zion threw the cackling Ruin over his shoulder and bolted to catch up with the others.
Why the hell did you punch him?
Volante yelled from the front of the group.
Thought it was a good idea at the time.
Ruin replied, coming out of her stupor. Running in the direction that they came from, Ruin yelped in pain as a crossbow bolt struck her in the back. At the moment, the party realized they were being chased by the halfling and a half-elf, who was the wielder of the crossbow that just hit Ruin. Desperately attempting to delay their pursuers, Azalea slowed, letting the party run ahead as she extended her staff, and a wave of thunderous energy erupted from it, hitting the assailants, causing them to slow down. Approaching the dart trap, Volante leapt over the pressure plates and successfully avoided activating either of them. Cyrus followed suit but misaveraged, stepping on a pressure plate, causing 3 darts to fly towards them, which injected poison as it punctured their skin. One by one, the other party members successfully crossed the pressure plates, narrowly avoiding the blitz of spells being thrown their way by their pursuers. As they closed in on the area where they defeated the serpent, they chose not to head the way they came. Instead, they steered further into the sewers, running as fast as their legs could carry them. Noxious fumes filled their path, and luckily they managed to resist whatever toxins entered their lungs. Through the fumes, Volante noticed a small humanoid ahead that signaled her to follow, leading her and the party down several twists and turns, eventually showing them to an open section in a wall, a secret room.
Let's go?
Volante said hesitantly, and the party reluctantly entered, finding themselves within a dark space. This unidentified humanoid extended his arm towards the sewer to cast a spell, and they could hear the pursuers screaming about being unable to see and hear. Afterwards, the humanoid closed the door to the secret room.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Azzy asked. Oh, apologies. My name is Brio. I live here, in the sewers. He bowed, a small patch of moss growing atop of his grey gnomish head swaying as he did so. The party asked if he knew who the pursuers were, and he said they recently took up residence in the sewers, but he doesn't know much else about them. What he does know is a 5th individual came looking for them, but was taken prisoner instead. After the conversation, Brio offered the party a space to rest for a moment, and satisfied with the information garnered, they all took some time to catch their breath and sleep. After about an hour of rest, Brio roused the party, informing them that while they slept, he snooped about the sewers and noticed that their assailants had abandoned the space they occupied, rather quickly it seemed. Moving stealthily towards the area where they ran into these strangers, the party discovered a channel which was blocked to prevent water flow, leading to an empty room with disturbed beds. However, the room wasn't as empty as they thought, as Baron Tempest laid unconscious and bound in one of the corners. Waking him, and noticing that he was missing a pinky finger and covered in cuts and bruises, Azalea healed him.
What was so important about the ring?
Volante asked gruffly, to which he responded it was his daughter's and he was in the sewers to recover it, but was unsuccessful. Ruin, recalling what Volante saw in his office, asked,
Why was her face scratched out in the portrait? Is she dead?
Azalea followed, angering Tempest as he realized the party was in his house. During this line of questioning, Rimaru moved to another corner of the room, seemingly bothered, his reasons unknown. Tempest indicated that his daughter was dead and he had lost her to, quote-unquote, their kind, gesturing to Cyrus and Rimaru, disdain and hatred in his voice. Taken aback by his comment, the party also inquired about the robbery and the missing nobles, to which Tempest responded he was unaware of who robbed him or why, just that the 2 mercenaries he came with were now dead and his captors communicated in a language he didn't quite understand. He was also unaware why he was reported as missing. He did, however, indicate the other missing nobles were from out of country before he sullenly left the sewers. Continuing their investigation of the room, the party found several items of value. 2 in particular caught Ruin's and Rimaru's eye. Ruin found a seemingly important letter written in a language she could not understand, while Rimaru found a leather-bound book with arcane writing, more than likely a spellbook. Finishing up inside the room, everyone was escorted back to the surface with Brio as their guide. As they approached the entrance from which they all came, they thanked Brio for his help, and he told them that they are ever in the quote-unquote down below to ask for him, and he will be there. Climbing out of the sewers, the party was greeted by the early morning sun and a very annoyed Captain Trosk. The odor on the party was overbearing, so Trosk sent them to take a bath before they could brief him on what occurred in the sewers. After a much-needed bath, the party returned to Trosk's office and told him everything they knew, with various levels of sass involved. Ruin also handed him the letter she found, and he identified it as correspondence between someone named Lucar and his mother in the Halfling language, which stated Lucar was making progress on payments at Godfrey's College of the Arcane, where he was apparently a student. With this information in hand, Trosk said he should be able to find who robbed and kidnapped the Baron. With that, he sent the party on their way to rest after spending a night in the sewers. Ready to relax away their exhaustion, the party returned to the tavern they were staying in by mid-morning. As they climbed the stairs to their rooms, they were passed by a regally dressed dwarven woman, whom the tavern keeper referred to as Baroness Understone, one of the names on the list of missing nobles. Realizing who the dwarven woman was, the party did a double take. Exhaustion temporarily forgotten, they approached the Baroness and told her they were looking for her as she was reported missing. Marjorie greeted the party kindly, pointing out that they looked tired, expressing surprise and confusion at her being deemed missing, as she was in the Northern Quadrant conducting business for about the last week or so. Rimaru thought the entire situation to be suspicious, but Volante showed her the list of names anyway.
What do you know about the missing nobles?
She asked. Marjorie indicated that she knew of Arison and Vanjid, since they were the voices of overseers Theron Amakir and Seki Bartal, respectively. However, she claimed to have heard of Callus, but never met him. She's never heard of Melista. Azalea and Volante, however, picked up on a twinge of recognition on the mention of Melista's name. Curious about Marjorie's whereabouts over the last week, Volante asked why she was in Bartal, but Marjorie dodged the question, mentioning it was family business. 2 well-armored dwarves entered the tavern, causing Marjorie to cut the conversation short. Introducing them as her protectors, she bid farewell to the party, stating that she needed to complete her business before leaving the country. Exhaustion now kicking in, the party decided to head to their rooms. But, while heading up the stairs, Azalea and Rimaru overheard the tavern keep mention that they needed to clear out Marjorie's room. Rimaru relayed this information to the party and they all decided to check the room after a good sleep. Everyone went their separate ways to have a deserved long rest. At sunset, the party woke, their mission in mind. Ruin and Rimuru snuck around the tavern trying to locate the Baroness's room. Knocking on a few doors and trying to sell some day-old cookies as a cover, they eventually found the room of Baroness Marjorie Understone. Inside, they found an intricate brooch which detailed the sigil of a noble house and a paper with the lyrics of a song written in Old Draconic. Ruin and Rimaru made copies of everything and regrouped with the party in Volante and Azalea's room for a debrief. Understanding Draconic, Rimaru read the lyrics aloud. As he spoke, the paper started to glow and shimmer, but he became distracted after realizing his bag was missing, leaving for his room in order to find it.
That's weird.
Azalea mumbled. Curious about the shimmer, she performed a spell that showed her evidence of the school of conjuration magic surrounding the words on the paper. Meanwhile, Rimaru entered his room to search for his bag, luckily finding it on the table. Searching through it to ensure everything was there, he found a letter from his old guild, the Twin Daggers, ominously stating, "We know where you are." It was then he heard a voice from behind him. Turning around, he found a halfling sitting on his windowsill, Falco Padfoot, his old partner from the guild. As Rimaru unsheathed his rapier, Falco tried to convince him that he had left the guild. Rimaru stopped to hear his plight, and Falco informed him that he is the one that sent the list of the 5 missing nobles, explaining that they were involved in a conspiracy to overthrow Tuvatu's leaders and bring a new order to the continent. Rimaru asked why he did this, and he expressed it was penance for every bad thing that he has done, including his betrayal of Rimaru. Choosing to trust him, Rimaru introduced him to the rest of the party as a traitor. This automatically put everyone on the offensive, but Falco understood. He repeated what he told Rimaru and said that the quote-unquote 5 nobles had been meeting in a secret room whose entrance was activated by a song. The party then realized what he was talking about, and after much hesitation, they decided to open the portal to the secret room. And as Ruin began to sing the lyrics, the paper flew from her hands and attached itself to the nearest wall. A golden light encompassed the paper and formed the shape of an open doorway. Cautiously entering, everyone descended a small flight of stairs, leading them into a large room with massive columns stretching into a high ceiling. As they approached the bottom of the stairs, 2 dragon-like gargoyles were noticed sitting at each side, as if standing guard. They also noticed a stone table in the middle of the room with a strange symbol on it, surrounded by 5 chairs. Nearing the gargoyle statues, the eyes lit up and a booming voice could be heard, asking a riddle. Taking a guess, Ruin confidently yelled an answer, but unfortunately, it was incorrect. The booming voice shouted, "Intruder," as both gargoyles suddenly shifted, coming to life and attacking the party. Their stone bodies were hardy and proved quite the match against the party's steel weapons. The gargoyles eventually took flight, attacking the party from above. However, the party's long-range fighters slowly chipped away at their stone armor, destroying one. In its last bit of consciousness, it purposefully destroyed one of the columns that held up the ceiling. Everyone now focused on the remaining gargoyle, who, still in the air, rained attacks from above. As more cracks formed on its stone exterior, this gargoyle thrust itself towards the remaining pillars, sending them tumbling down. The entire room began to shake as the ceiling crumbled down around the party, who all made a mad dash to the doorway, making it safely out as it closed. Angry at Falco for putting them in that situation, the party sent him away. He apologized profusely, but said he'd go. After he left, the party turned in for a night's rest. The next morning, however, as the party slept peacefully, they were awakened by a blood-curdling scream. Azalea, who was closest, opened her window to see the lifeless body of Baroness Marjorie Understone, hanging from the outer rafters of the building, her face twisted in pain and agony. As she stared at Marjorie's lifeless body, Azalea observed that the way she died did not seem to be from the hanging. Instead, her death seemed to be consistent with how the party found the kobolds in the cave a few days ago, blood seeping from her eyes and ears. Acting on instinct, she woke Volante and showed her Marjorie's body, before gathering Ruin and Rimaru into the room, noting that Cyrus and Zion were missing. Volante poked her head out of the open window to get a closer look, scaring a Golden Legion soldier who was climbing up to cut the body down in the process, making the same observations Azalea did. Captain Trask, who was outside of the tavern, noticed Volante and demanded she bring the entire party down for investigation. Getting dressed, everyone gathered downstairs listening to Trask bark orders at Golden Legion soldiers. While there, a silver-haired male elf dressed in green robes, a scout of the Verdant Shadow, appeared before Volante in a flash. He told her that she was being summoned back to Maricopa by Lucian. Trask, quite rudely, interrupted the conversation and informed the scout that Volante was not to leave Bartal as she was under investigation. The scout glanced at Trask, barely acknowledging his existence, before handing Volante a sending stone and telling her to contact him when she was ready to leave. He left in a flash, and the 4 party members were escorted to the western garrison under a heavy guard. The party was taken to Trask's office, where he noticed Zion and Cyrus's absence. He brushed it off and asked those present, "What were you doing between the hours of noon and evening?
Sleeping.
Why didn't you tell me that the Baroness was not missing?
It was still late and we were still tired.
What information did you get from her?"
Well, she said that she wasn't missing, and she was in the northern quadrant of Tal'Vare to conduct business. And she also told us that she's not sure why she was reported missing.
At this point, some Golden Legion soldiers burst in, followed by a tall, impeccably dressed male half-elf. Trask was startled and quickly stood at attention to greet him.
And who must you be?
Volante asked. The half-elf ignored her and proceeded to verbally and ruthlessly rip into Trask about his inability to find the missing nobles and stop the robberies. Trask, now a stuttering mess, reported the robberies were being done by a group of individuals. One of them was a halfling named Lucar from Kiskasai. However, the halfling has not been apprehended yet, as his whereabouts were unknown, but they contacted the mage school in Kiskasai, hoping to find him. Trask also reported on missing nobles, stating that he was unable to find any of them except Marjorie this morning. The half-elf continued to rip into Trask, stating that none of the nobles were actually missing and that he had been chasing ghosts, so to speak. Having heard enough, the half-elf dismissed Trask, telling him to leave the office. Apologies that you had to see that. Allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Seki Bartal, the overseer of Bartal. The party all introduced themselves to him using various aliases, and he thanked them for their assistance. However, he said he hoped to clear the party's name, and brought in a tabaxi dressed in white hooded robes named Ratha. She asked to see the body of the Baroness Understone in order to commune with it. Heading outside, they all went to see the body, which was now propped up against a wall. Ratha stepped forward and performed a ritual which allowed the now dead Baroness Understone to answer a few questions regarding her death. The questions were asked, and they revealed that someone named Pharos was responsible for Marjorie's death. This cleared the party of any involvement, but it roused suspicion within them as one of the names on the missing noble list was Melista Pharos. Ratha and the party returned to the office to report to Overseer Seki of the outcome. While this occurred, Ruin quietly asked Azalea if they should mention anything regarding Falco, but they decided not to for now. Breaking away from this conversation, Seki informed the party that they were under house arrest at the tavern for their safety, until he called upon them. They all interjected, proclaiming that Pharos was a name on the list and the other nobles could be targeted next. However, Seki calmed them, explaining that they had located Callus, who was already placed under house arrest, Vanjid was in the southern quadrant visiting family, and Arison was being escorted by the Verdant Shadow. Dejected, they were all escorted by several Golden Legion soldiers to the tavern and had breakfast, before convening in Volante and Azalea's room to discuss the morning's happenings. As the discussion went on, Ruin noticed Falco hiding amidst the curtains and called him out. He emerged meekly and informed the party that he was aware of Callus Medborn's whereabouts. He was in the western quadrant's upper district. The party discussed plans and decided to talk to Callus for more information, But first, they had to get past the soldiers. Ruin created an illusion of Falco, sending him scampering in the opposite direction of the soldiers in front of the tavern, which caused them to pursue it. Seeing this, the party stealthily left the tavern, following Falco's lead towards Callus's location. Reaching Callus's apartment, they found it surrounded by Golden Legion soldiers. Falco, in his never-ending wisdom, distracted the guards by streaking through the streets, causing them to chase him. With this successful distraction, the party made their way to the building. Rimaru effortlessly unlocked the door and let everyone in, coming face to face with a blue male dragonborn.
Hi, we're here.
Azzy exclaimed. Confused, Callus wondered why they were in his apartment, and after a brief discussion, Callus was proven to be a very benevolent person, and the party learned that Cyrus met him a few hours ago. The party asked questions on the missing nobles, but he was also seemingly confused about being reported as missing. Curious, the party asked how he would hypothetically destroy a hidden room, to which he seemed annoyed at the concept, as if from experience. Brushing past it, Azalea crafted him a flower crown, which he readily accepted, and the party prepared to leave. But just before they could, a hooded figure appeared behind Callus. Noticing their shock and fear, Callus slowly turned, and with recognition in his voice, he asked, "What are you doing here?" The mysterious figure replied sweetly, "Just tying up loose ends. I'll deal with you four later," referring to the party, before a sudden blast of thunderous force emanated from the hands of the hooded figure, who they all assumed to be Melistiferos. As Callus was sent crashing into a bookshelf, the party resisted, preparing for the inevitable fight that was before them.
Thank you for listening to this episode of NeuroSpice&Dice. If you're interested in finding out what happens next, be sure to follow us on our Spotify and YouTube. See you in the next one. Bye bye.